Haunted by the cursed past. 5 sinister rules Unveiled to survive the night shift in a Wyoming MNE. The moment Tara stepped into the coal mine, the chill clawed at her spine. It felt alive, breathing darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. She took a steadying breath, heart pounding, each beat echoing like a hammer against the stone walls. Coal Hollow wasn't just any mine. It was a graveyard of lost souls where whispers lingered and shadows danced. It was, as the townsfolk said, cursed. And now, this single mother in her mid-30s was desperate enough to take the night shift. A job that had the weight of death hanging over it. As she clutched her hard hat and gear, she heard the distant clanking of chains, phantoms of forgotten miners perhaps, urging her to think twice. But the memories of her husband's disappearance hung heavy, locking her in a grip of fear and determination. She couldn't let her son down. She had bills to pay and a house to keep. So, she shook off the dread and ventured deeper into the darkness, armed only with her flashlight and a resolve that felt fragile. The old man had warned her. Heed the mine's 5 sinister rules, he had rasped, his eyes clouded with unshed terror. Trust no one, especially the overseer. Tara dismissed the chilling notion as she turned the first corner of the tunnel. Yet the shadows shifted in her peripheral vision, always just out of sight. The air thickened with foreboding silence. There was something more, something that wasn't just worry gnawing at her gut. It was instinct, scratching at her senses that screamed, "Get out!" The darkness swallowed her. Each step weighed down by an oppressive energy. Felt like the walls were pulsating. Outside, life carried on in Coal Hollow. But here, it was a different world, a living grave tainted with the regrets of those who toiled to fill their pockets, only to lose their souls. Then came the whispers, soft at first, but as she paused, they grew louder, wrapping around her like suffocating smoke. Tara's flashlight flickered ominously, revealing fleeting images, shadows that didn't belong to her. "Just fatigue," she murmured. But the icy sweat running down her back told another story. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The deeper she went, the greater the sense of entrapment. An old mining helmet rolled past her, somehow moving on its own as if beckoning her to follow. Panic clawed at her throat. What were they hiding? The mine felt malevolent, feeding off her fear, entwining it with the terror of the souls that lay buried in the darkness. Faces began to form on the walls, men twisted in agony, their screams frozen in the cold dust. She froze, breath hitching in her chest. The memories of the old man echoed again. Never turn your back on the shadows. Just then, rapid footsteps behind her sent her spinning around. She confronted the overseer, a figure that should have brought order. Instead, his hollow eyes glimmered with a twisted delight, as if he thrived on the terror he instilled. The air crackled. Her heartbeat thundered in her ears. With a primal instinct, Tara stepped back, arms outstretched to reach the safety of the tunnelless wall. But the mine roared to life, vibrations shaking her to the core as darkness threatened to envelop her whole. Reality began to unravel. She clung to the wall, needing clarity, desperate to survive. The overseer's sneer felt like a predator closing in. As the shadows shifted, the mine beckoned her into its cold embrace, whispering promises of doom. Questions flooded her mind as she deciphered the truth. Desperation could be more deadly than any curse, yet it was the very thing anchoring her here, forever. Tara's breath came in shallow gasps, the overseer looming closer, the shadows around him morphing like smoke. Fear tightened her throat as she scrambled for a plan. She needed to escape this trap, a mine filled with the whispers of the abandoned. The overseer's smile slithered deeper into her mind, promising secrets that tasted like rot. "Do you hear them?" he crooned, his voice a slick, oily whisper that slithered over her skin. "The miners? They don't want you to leave. Frantically, she recalled the rules, frayed stitches in her fading resolve. Trust no one. The walls felt alive, expanding and contracting as if they wanted her to dissolve into their darkness. Just as she thought she could break free, the ground trembled, shaking loose bits of coal from the walls. A distant rumble echoed ominously, followed by the sharp crack of wood splintering. The overseer's gaze sharpened, the delight twisting into something darker. They're hungry, he hissed, his voice now almost a growl. Lurching forward, Tara darted past him, her body instinctively reacting to the encroaching doom. She sprinted down the tunnel, the thickening darkness wrapping around her like shrouds, tightening with hideous glee. The whispers clawed at her, trying to drag her back, but she forced herself to keep moving, dodging the remnants of machinery that loomed like skeletons waiting to reclaim her. The mine seemed to stretch endlessly, buried dreams manifesting in every crevice. Then she heard it, a second set of footsteps behind her. The overseer was relentless. She felt his breath, cold and menacing, chilling the nape of her neck as she pushed on. Her flashlight flickered, shadows dancing along the walls, filling her with dread and uncertainty. How had she ever thought she could navigate this nightmare? Suddenly, a piercing scream echoed, reverberating through the tight passages. It wasn't just any scream, it was familiar, filled with the anguish of loss. For a split second, her thoughts spun to her husband, the last time she had seen him before he vanished into this cursed place. The memory struck her like a blow, knocking the breath from her lungs. She felt the weight of the mine pressing down, layers of sorrow crashing into her. Let them in, the overseer's taunting voice whispered from behind her. They'll keep you safe from the shadows. They will be your salvation. No, she shouted, fierce defiance pouring out in desperation. The mine quaked in response, cries of miners swirling, drawing her closer to the brink of madness. Tara plunged deeper into the tunnel, the darkness urging her to yield. The ground groaned beneath her feet. Then, in an instant, the light from her flashlight revealed yet another passageway, deeper and darker than the last. She hesitated, torn between the instinct to flee and the whispering call to uncover buried truths. With a gulp, she stepped into the unknown. A fresh wave of whispers enveloped her, chilling her bones. The air thickened further, laden with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic that set her nerves alight. But even as she stumbled forward, the flickering beam revealed more than just the tunnel. Out of the shadows, figures emerged, spectral miners, trapped in a dance of despair, their faces marred with agony. Tara felt their souls reaching out, pulling her nearer to a twisted fate. The truth lies within, one murmured, mouth moving with an echoing rasp. Join us. As the ground trembled beneath her feet, Tara fought against the pull of the restless spirits. Her past, her husband, the urge to remember was visceral, clawing at her mind. But as she glanced back, the overseer grinned, his cruel satisfaction echoing in the cavernous void. Tara's heart thundered. She was racing against something she couldn't comprehend. Each step sank her deeper into the abyss of memories and pain, and with every echoing breath, the mind seemed to tighten its jaws. Would she uncover the secrets it held, or be lured into its eternal grasp? As Tara hesitated, staring into the void of suffering, she felt the weight of impending doom. What was waiting for her on the other side of that shadowed threshold? Desperation tightened its grip as she made a choice that could change everything, risk everything. Perhaps there lay a chance to uncover the mine's true horrors. Or perhaps her fate was already sealed. Tara stumbled deeper, the walls squeezing in as if the mine itself were alive, hungry for her confusion. The whispers grew louder, clawing at her sanity. She let out a trembling breath, trying to drown out the cacophony. "Where are you?" she murmured, half-crazed with worry. Each shadow seemed to reach for her, fingers of darkness curling in excitement. Those eyes, they weren't just memories. They were watching. She quickened her pace, trying to shake the feeling of being followed. But the air was thick with torment. The miners' faces flickered before her, ghostly and filled with despair, remnants of lives snatched away. Fleeting images flashed by, broken families, empty homes. Would she become just another fragment of this dark history? When you let them in, a voice slithered from the darkness, wrapping around her mind like a snake. You lose yourself. She shook her head, trying to clear away the fog of despair. She had to find a way out. With each step, she scanned the walls for signs of a hidden escape. But the murals, etched in soot and grief, told a different story. They screamed of betrayal, of promises broken. "Help us," a figure intoned, its voice a ghostly echo. "We guard the secrets." The torch flickered just then, and she snagged a glimpse of a door wood, almost rotted with time. It was a dead end for the miners, she realized, a place where they perhaps made their final pact with the abyss. Her heart raced, pounding against her chest as she approached, unsure if this should be a sanctuary or another trap. The air thickened. She hesitated, sweaty fingers brushing the cold wood. What if this was their world? What if they had closed the door on her husband? Shivers cascaded down her spine, but hope shoved her forward. She pressed her palm against the door, feeling the years of sorrow seep through the wood. Suddenly, she pulled it open, and a gust of frigid air clawed at her face. Inside, the room was dark like a tomb. A single flickering bulb hung from the ceiling, casting a weak yellow light that struggled against the chaos in the corners. The walls were plastered with pictures, snapshots of men and women, faces twisted with anguish. A palpable silence enveloped her. Breath shallow, she stepped inside, her flashlight beam revealing small objects scattered across the ground. Rusty tools, cracked photographs, shattered glass. They told a story only the forgotten could understand. She crouched, picking up a photo of a woman, eyes hollow with loss, a reflection of her own fear. "Don't trust them," a voice murmured from the shadows, almost lost in the low hum of her flashlight. "You're too far gone." Tara's heart stopped. She looked around, eyes darting through the oppressive darkness. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, panic rising in her throat. The shadows seemed to grow thicker, pressing closer as if to answer her with their sorrow. Images of the overseer flashed in her mind, his sinister smile sharpening like a knife. Memories of her husband's laughter mingled with terror. She resolved to confront the truth. "I will find you," she said, voice trembling but determined. Then she heard a low, rumbling groan beneath her feet. The very ground felt restless, as if disturbed by her words, echoing her defiance. She squared her shoulders, feeling the chill seep into her bones. "What have you done?" A voice howled from the depths of the mine, bitter and sorrowful. Tara's stomach twisted, and the darkness lunged toward her. She swung around, eyes wide with dread. The door behind her creaked ominously, as though begging to be shut. "Fight or fade," the murmurs intoned, their icy breath washing over her. With a deep breath, she turned and stepped within the darkness, ready to uncover the twisted truths lurking in the shadows. A flickering necklace caught her eye, a glint of gold entangled in despair. As she moved closer, a ghostly hand reached out, and everything froze in a moment of unbearable silence. "Join us," the demand echoed, mingling with her fear. Was it the only way to find her husband? In that moment, Tara's heart raced wildly. She might have just signed her fate away. What awaited her on the other side of the dark? As she clasped the necklace in her hand, a deep rumble shook the very fabric of the mine, an awakening. The overseer's laugh, sharp and cruel, resonated from the depths, and Tara understood then. There would be no easy escape. What had she unleashed in her quest for truth? Would she uncover her husband's fate, or succumb to the mine's insatiable hunger? The air crackled with unease as Tara gripped the necklace, its weight pulling her down like an anchor. The shadows whispered more urgently now, the voices colliding into a spiraling chaos around her. Join us," they echoed, seductive and relentless. She had to keep moving. Fear drove her deeper, past remnants of lives lost. Yet clarity slipped like sand through her fingers. Every step felt heavier, as if the mine was consuming her resolve. The faint light from her flashlight danced on the walls, illuminating grotesque murals of miners entangled in dark, twisted forms. They reached out, their painted faces twisted in anguish. She stumbled as the ground quaked again, this time more violently. Dust cascaded from the ceiling, and she ducked instinctively, heart racing. "Keep it together, Tara," she breathed, forcing herself to take one step after another through the encroaching dark. She couldn't let it take her. Not now. But the whispers traded sweet promises. "We'll help you find him, you just need to trust us." No. She shouted the word into the suffocating void, gritting her teeth against the onslaught. "I want to listen. I don't need you." Deliberate silence fell around her, suffused with tension. Encouraged, she pressed forward until she spotted another door, a shallow crevice, half hidden in shadows. Her gut churned, but she couldn't turn back. She needed answers. Maybe he was beyond that door. With trembling hands, she pushed the door open. It screamed a harsh noise that seemed to throw the shadows into a frenzy. The room inside was just as barren but felt electric, alive with the promise of revelation. In the center, a table lay strewn with remnants of the past. A miner's helmet, a torn journal smelling of rust and decay. The pages flipped open as if taunting her, words swimming in and out of focus. "Safety is an illusion," she read aloud, her voice trembling. "Never turn your back on the lost." Tara's skin crawled. The very phrase sent icy tendrils up her spine. She cast a nervous glance over her shoulder, feeling unseen eyes staring at her. "What does this mean?" she whispered, gripping the table for support. "Those who enter never leave." A voice coiled around her, low and menacing, echoing from the corners of the room. With a snap, the door slammed shut behind her. Tara's heart plummeted, panic clawing its way up her throat. She was trapped. "No!" she screamed, banging on the door. "Let me out." The shadows responded with mocking laughter, a chorus of disbelief that filled her ears with despair. And the depths of the room, surrounded by echoes of abandonment, the journal beckoned. Compelled against her better judgment, she rushed toward it, heart pounding. Each word weighed heavy with a consuming dread, an unspoken history that wrapped around her like chains. "5 rules govern here," it warned, the ink pulsating as if alive. "Break a rule, lose a piece of your soul. There is no going back." Entranced, Tara read swiftly, her breathing shallow. Each rule was more sinister than the last, laying bare the grim fate of the lost. Would disclosure save or doom her? The pressure to comprehend constricted like a vice. As she finished, red-hot fear ignited within her. Dark thoughts darted in her mind. Could she survive this night? Something shifted. A presence swirled in the darkness, pallid fingers creeping from the walls. "You've already broken one." The voice sliced through the silence, venomous and sharp. Tara felt the blood drain from her face. "You're marked now. Join us or be forgotten." Determined, Tara backed away, her mind racing. What rule had she broken? Would she be another lost soul? Another miner trapped in this hellish abyss? She gripped the necklace like a lifeline. With every ounce of courage, she faced the shadow's growing menace, prepared to fight for her life. Yet, amidst the pulsing echo of despair, one question screamed within her. Could she outsmart the very thing that fed off her fear? As the darkness lunged, Tara readied herself. Every nerve screamed for escape. Would she uncover the truth that lurked within this mine, or would she be swallowed whole by its insatiable hunger? The brush of cold air tickled her neck, a sinister promise hanging in the vastness. And then it truly began. Would she unravel the mine's cruel game, or fall victim to it? The answer lurked just beyond her sight, closer than she dared to acknowledge. Tara's breath came in rapid bursts, each inhale fighting against the choking darkness. She could feel the shadows prowling around her, closing in with an insatiable thirst for her fear. The chill in the air grew more pronounced, wrapping around her like a constricting noose. "Stay calm, think," she muttered under her breath, though her pounding heart made concentration difficult. The oppressive weight of the journalist's warning echoed in her head. She had broken a rule. But which one? The words twisted and flitted just beyond her grasp. She glanced back at the door, desperate for an escape, but her instincts screamed that it was a trap. If she managed to leave this room, would the mine let her go so easily? She couldn't shake the feeling that leaving would only serve to confirm her status as yet another lost soul. Crackling whispers surrounded her again, taunting her senses. Join us, the tone was sweet, laced with promises she knew were lies. Tara clutched the necklace tighter, feeling its cold metal bite into her palm, drawing strength from its familiar presence. Moving cautiously toward the table, she searched for answers among the remnants of a life long extinguished. The miner's helmet caught her eye, a dim light bouncing off its battered surface. What if this belonged to him? She whispered to herself, fingertips grazing the age-worn object. But he wasn't meant to stay. The voice tore through the silence, biting, closer than before. Tara jerked back, pulse racing. Clenching her fists, she faced the darkness that writhed with its hidden dread. I am not afraid of you. A laugh rippled through the air, thick and low. But fear is a part of you now. You can't fight what you've already become. Panic rushed forward. Had she truly become a piece of the mine? The realization hit her like a thunderclap. Once a living woman, now merely a character etched into its morbid history. She balled her hands into fists, resisting the tide of despair that threatened to drown her. What if I refuse? She demanded, surprisingly steady. What if I play your game but on my terms? The shadows faltered momentarily. She sensed their hesitation. You misunderstand, you've already chosen unwittingly. Before she could retort, a sudden sound pierced the air, a distant, echoing cry. Was that him? Her heart leaped, and she surged toward it, the necklace clanging against her chest. It felt like a beacon, guiding her through the suffocating darkness. As she advanced, a low hum began to screw itself around her, creeping along her skin like insects. The cry was closer now, more distinct, filled with pain and desperation. She stumbled toward the source, mind racing. No, the disembodied voice hissed, the shadows swirling violently, thickening around her. You cannot seek what has been lost, it will consume you. But Tara moved with newfound resolve. The cries were no longer distant, they were raw, consuming, and achingly familiar. She quickened her pace, desperate to find the person who had been calling out. Whether it was the truth or a trap, she had to know. She had to decide. Then something latched onto her ankle. Cold fingers of darkness dragged her down, gripping with an unrelenting force. Tara gasped, fear exploding like fireworks in her chest. You can't go back. The whispers echoed in a frenzied pitch. Join us or be consumed. Tara fought against the pull, heart racing as she clawed for purchase. The necklace flickered, a burst of light emanating from it as though responding to her determination. In an instant, everything flashed before her eyes, visions of failed miners. Their faces frozen in terror, lingered. The same despair threatened to engulf her. The necklace pulsed with an energy she hadn't felt before. One final surge of strength erupted within her, and she yanked her foot free, stumbling sideways just as the shadows lunged forward in a ravenous wave. Oh no, the voice's resonance filled the space. Now frantic. Would it be enough to reach the fading cries, or would she lose herself forever in the depths of the mine? The choice hung heavy in the air, her heart racing as she took a breath, wondering if she would indeed unravel the mine's dark secrets or be crushed by its merciless grip. Time's running out, Tara the Echo warned. Fear clawed at her throat. The shadows roared back to life, and she felt a chilling certainty. If she didn't act soon, everything she was would slip beyond reach. What awaited her in the depths? Would she reclaim her past or become engulfed by the same darkness? The mine's secrets beckoned fiercely, forcing her to decide before it was too late. Tara's heart hammered like a relentless drum against her ribs. With every desperate step toward the cries, the darkness clawed at her heels, snarling and snapping. The air chilled, thick with malice as if the mine's very breath was a warning. She sensed the shadows were not mere tricks of light. They were manifestations of ancient despair, hungry for her essence. Stay focused, she urged herself, shaking off the clamoring fears. The cries were clearer now, infused with familiarity, yet tinged with a beguiling edge of sorrow. What do you want from me? I want you to know the truth. The voice that echoed around her turned soft, almost tender, and drew her in. You can't save him. It was never about him. Tara froze, feeling the weight in her chest as panic morphed into dread. What did that mean? Who was she trying to save? The light from her necklace flickered uneasily, as if caught in a wave of indecision. Yet, the cries persisted, wrapping her in a cocoon of desperation. With a surge of adrenaline, she pressed forward, slipping between jagged shadows that writhed like serpents. She stumbled into an adjoining chamber, its walls damp and oozing, a sickly smell rising. The flickering halo of her necklace illuminated crumbling skeletons, miners trapped forever in their greed. Their hollow eye sockets seemed to follow her, reflecting her fear back at her with mocking grins. No more. I want to be like you, Tara shouted, voice echoing against the stone as dread morphed into defiance. Yet even in her rage, shadows whispered sweet nothings, promising her strength if she would only submit. Leave her, commanded a new voice, harsh, yet traced with desperation. She doesn't belong to you. Tara's pulse quickened. Was that him? Come to me, Tara. The voice beckoned her forward again, pulling her deeper into the darkness, setting her skin ablaze with both terror and a glimmer of hope. Stop, she yelled back, aware that another choice loomed. Could she trust him? Tell me what you know. Too late. The whispers twisted, deepening around her. Your time is finished. You've already taken the first step. Suddenly, the cries changed, morphing into a discordant symphony of torment. Waves of agony rolled through her, thrumming on her skin. She staggered, trying to block the sound. The chilling fear slithered into her thoughts, making her question her own resolve. In the end, the mind chooses. The shadows laughed, louder now, filling her ears like 1,000 crows. All attempts to flee are futile. You will become one of us. God, not this. Panic surged, a dark tide rising. Tara glanced desperately around, searching for an escape. The cries were now almost drowned out by the sinister laughter. She could see a flicker of movement ahead, familiar shapes encased in dark. Could it be? Stay back, she shouted, taking a step back in fear. Save us, they whispered, their voices a haunting melody, laced with longing and treachery, digging into her mind. They didn't want salvation. They wanted to drag her down into their depths. No, she gasped, realizing the truth of their lure. They needed her. They find power in her surrender, just as many had before. The shadows surged toward her, a violent wave desperate to reclaim what they had lost. Tara clutched the necklace tighter, feeling its defensive pulse. She had to make a stand, play their game, but on her terms. The world around her shook as she braced for battle. What lay on the other side of the abyss? Would her defiance grant her freedom, or would she become another soul lost in the mine's unforgiving history? But time was slipping. If she failed to act, she'd become a mere echo of despair. A whisper buried as the mine welcomed her home. Would she discover the truth behind the cries, or would she too perish in the dark? The shadows promised answers, but at what cost? Tara squeezed her eyes shut, trying to block out the cacophony of sorrow that swirled around her. The whispers clawed at her sanity, promising the truth but delivering only dread. With every heartbeat, the shadows drew closer, their hunger palpable, whispering secrets wrapped in silk but stained with poison. Fight, Tara, she chanted internally, the mantra rising from somewhere deep within her. She took a deep breath and jerked her head up, scanning the chamber. Dust swirled in the faint glow of her necklace. It felt like the only thing holding her together against the pulling dark. Focus, she yelled, forcing her voice to pierce through the wails and laughter. What do you want? Who are you? More questions, always questions, but answers will never satisfy. A chilling voice purred, slithering through the dimness like a serpent. Join us, Tara. Become one with the darkness. We are waiting no, she screamed, shaking her head, trying to banish their talk of unity. She felt the air shift ominously, the shadows closing in, craving acceptance, but she couldn't give in. She stumbled backwards but caught herself, fingers grazing the rough walls of the chamber, feeling the despair of the past thrumming through the stone like a heartbeat. A sudden vision struck her, a hazy image of him, Michael, his face, once full of life, now marred by the shadows that claimed this place. She shuddered as a new realization jarred her senses. It wasn't just his salvation she sought, but her own. "Help me," she cried, her desperation pouring into the dark, fueled by love and fear. "I don't want to stay here. Why should we?" A chorus of hollowed voices mocked, their tones shrill and mocking. "You will only become another lost hope. The mind feasts while you struggle." "Maybe so, but I'll fight," Tara shouted, resolve hardening within her. "You can't take me." The shadows recoiled, uncertainty flickering through the darkness. Tara grasped her necklace tighter, its warm glow flickering brighter, pushing back against the abyss. She felt the stones under her hands pulse beneath her touch, each throb resonating with her heart's frantic beat. "Fear is not a weapon. It is a tool for us," the specters cried, swirling around like smoke caught in the wind. "Don't you see, Tara? This place will consume you alive." "No, this place has taken too many already," Tara shouted in defiance. The cries surged, weaving into a single unbearable note that vibrated through her bones. Then, an idea ignited within her, a strategy that dared to outsmart the smothering shadows. "You want power?" she said, aiming to sow discord among them. "Then let us play. I will show you a different kind of darkness." Laughter rippled through the room, a sound sharp as broken glass, echoing in the void. "Fool, you think you control the game?" In that moment, Tara felt the darkness reduce briefly, an uneasy silence stretching over the mind. She could hear her own breath, ragged and raw. Were they listening? "Maybe you can't take me," she stated, inching forward despite the shivering threat rising against her. "But I can seal this place and all of you within it forever." And then she saw it. A faint shimmer at the far end of the chamber, a gateway. Hope surged. If she could reach it, perhaps she could end this nightmare. "I'll show you what real fear is," she cried, her voice echoing fiercely. Before she could dart toward the shimmering portal, a shadow lunged, wrapping around her wrist. "You will not leave." The grip tightened, pulling her backward. Just as she felt her strength waning, she remembered Michael's face, the promise she made to him. "I won't give up. I won't surrender." With a final yell of defiance, Tara twisted free, letting the darkness rage around her. She sprinted toward the shimmer, the chorus of tormented souls screaming behind her, their pleas a backdrop to her urgent flight. The portal beckoned her closer, a sliver of blinding light in the void. "Don't get too close," the shadows shrieked, their voices rising in a frenzy. "It's a trick," but Tara's instinct pushed her on. The question loomed in her mind. Would she face escape, or find something worse waiting beyond the flickering light? What lay on the other side? Tara surged toward the light, her heart pounding, a wild drumbeat urging her on. Every nerve screamed for escape. Every instinct warned of the dark hands reaching for her. The shadows writhed, their shrieks ringing in her ears, a chorus of rejection and fury. "Foolish girl," they howled, fury twisting their voices. "You think you can escape?" But she cast a glance back, a brief moment of panic, and saw their grotesque forms swirling, eager to reclaim what they thought they owned. Her skin prickled with terror, but the glow of the portal felt like the sun, warm and inviting. "I'm leaving," she shouted, pushing herself forward. Just a little closer. Suddenly, she stumbled, her foot snagging on a jagged stone. Pain shot up her leg, but she used it as fuel to propel her forward. The blinding light enveloped her, forcing her to close her eyes. "Please, let this be real." As she stepped through, anticipation flooded her senses, hoping to break free from the oppressive gloom. Yet, the moment her foot hit what she thought was solid ground, she went tumbling, spiraling through a kaleidoscope of colors and sound. Chaos engulfed her, but then everything stopped. She felt herself lying on cold earth. Tara opened her eyes, confusion swirling within her. Where was she? The air was heavy, saturated with the taste of rust. Stale shadows danced at the edges of her sight, and she struggled to her feet. A grim new reality settled around her. She was no longer in the mine. Instead, she stood in a twisted version of familiar surroundings. It looked like her childhood home, but decayed, the walls peeling and the air thick with decay. Shadows lurked in the corners, shifting, watching. "What is this?" she murmured, dread twisting at her stomach. "Welcome home, little sister," a voice crooned from behind her. Tara whipped around, emotions colliding. It was Michael, yet his eyes were dark, swirling like the abyss she'd just escaped. This wasn't he, the brother she remembered. "What happened to you?" Her voice wavered, fear gripping her as she took a step back. "Oh, I'm fine," he hissed, the smile on his lips too broad, too menacing. "But you've fallen right into their trap." Tara recoiled. "What do you mean? You think escaping that hell would save you?" "No, they wanted to bring you here. This is where the real game begins." He chuckled softly, and it sent a chill down her spine. "5 rules. Follow them and you might survive the night." She swallowed hard, dread pooling in her gut. "What are the rules?" His gaze darkened, each word dripping with a sinister pleasure. "First, don't trust what you see. The shadows will show you what you wish to find, but they'll only deceive you. Next, don't make noise. They love fear, and screams make them stronger. Third, remember, nothing is as it appears. What you think is safe could be deadly." He paused, reveling in her growing unease. "The fourth, always look behind you. They follow close, you'll never be alone." "What's the last one?" Tara pressed, her voice shaking but defiant. "You must never, ever, let them take your soul. Once they have it, they'll seal your fate." As he spoke, the shadows seemed to thicken, clawing at the edges of her sight. Tara's breath quickened, and she felt their grip tightening around her throat. "Michael!" she cried, but he was already fading, slipping into the darkness. "Please, don't leave me." But he was gone, swallowed by the creeping shadows. Panic surged through her as the whispered taunts began anew, and Tara realized that the mine had crafted this new nightmare. The chilling rules echoed in her mind. Survival was no longer a question of fighting the dark, but of staying sane. What truly awaited her in this twisted game? Would she find the strength to defy the darkness again? Or would she be captured forever in this cruel reflection of her life? As the shadows deepened, Tara steeled herself against the encroaching dread. She was not done fighting. But now the stakes were higher than ever. Tara's heart raced, each beat echoing in her ears, as she took a step deeper into her old home. The air was thick with a musty smell that made her gag, memories flooding back like trapped phantoms clawing at her mind. Then she remembered her brother's warning. "Don't trust what you see." Shadows flickered across the walls, warping the remnants of family photos that faded through grime. She reached for one, desperate for familiarity, but the instant she touched it, the image morphed into something dark and twisted, a figure she couldn't recognize with hollow eyes and a gaping smile. She snatched her hand back, fighting to suppress a scream that threatened to erupt. "Keep it together," she whispered, forcing herself to breathe. The rules echoed in her head, but the fear was suffocating. What did it mean that she had fallen into a trap? Where was Michael? She pressed on cautiously, her feet whispering against the cold, rotten wood floors. Every creak felt like a warning. The hallway stretched toward the kitchen, the familiar layout now grotesquely distorted, the walls bleeding shadows like ink dissolving in water. What was once a place of warmth had become claustrophobic, each corner cloaked in dread. Tara glanced behind her, remembering the fourth rule. It sent shivers racing down her spine. The shadows lingered, swirling just out of sight, hungry and relentless. Every instinct urged her to run, but she knew running would only lead her into deeper darkness. A soft giggle echoed from the kitchen, slicing through the stillness. Tara froze. Should she investigate? Her heart hammered, torn between curiosity and caution. Could it be a trick? Was it one of them drawing her in with false promises? She crept toward the sound. The kitchen door swung slightly, as if inviting her in. Felt wrong, so wrong. But she refused to let the shadows steal her courage. She pushed the door open. Inside, she stumbled upon a sight both haunting and familiar. The table was set not just for two but a celebration. Birthday cake adorned by candles flickered like fireflies. Sweet scents wafted up, tempting her senses. "Happy birthday, Tara," someone whispered, a voice like silk wrapping around her. Familiar yet alien. Is this real? Tension knotted in her stomach. Can be, the voice promised, warm and inviting. It was soothing like a lullaby but held the sting of betrayal. Tara stepped closer to the table, drawn by the cake's innocent appearance. "Fifth rule," she murmured, resisting the urge to smile. "Never let them take your soul." As if sensing her hesitation, the lights flickered violently. The cake twisted, frosting melting like wax. The candles morphing into twisted figures, faces stretching and distorting in agony. Tara stumbled back, gasping. She was losing herself, and she knew it. The shadows laughed hisses of victory danced around her, pulling at her sanity. Standing in the doorway, she could feel their breath, hot and stinking of despair. "Stay awake, Tara," she whispered to herself, but fatigue clawed at her. She needed to escape this nightmare. But where? The exit seemed to dissolve behind the shadows, leaving her trapped between a malignant past and a horrifying future. As the laughter intensified, she turned back to the hallway, desperately searching for a way out. But the house shifted, rearranging itself, as if the walls were alive, weaving a new reality where hope was nothing but an echo. Tara's breath caught. Was this truly her childhood home, now a fortress of terror? Would she ever find the way back? In that moment, the shadows lunged at her, and she felt their icy fingers wrap around her soul. The real game was just beginning. Could she unravel the truth behind the terrifying darkness? Or would she become just another whisper in its sinister tales? Tara fought against the tightening darkness. Each step felt heavier than the last. The shadows lunged, clawing at her mind, the incessant whispers growing louder, drowning out her resolve. Join us, find the peace, they beckoned, their voices slick and smooth, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Tara pressed her palms against her ears, desperate to block out the enticing pull of despair. "No," she shouted, her voice fierce against the encroaching dark. "I refuse." The shadows recoiled, if only for a moment. She had to remember Michael's words. Trust no one. The courage surged within her. She darted down the warped hallway, each flicker of her necklace casting desperate glimmers of light. The air was thick with dread, but she was fueled by love and anger. She wasn't meant to end like the lost souls that lingered, waiting for her to join them. Suddenly, she spotted a light flickering in the distance, a glimmer of hope cutting through the thick veil of shadows. The old kitchen lay behind her, the setup still hauntingly familiar. The birthday cake morphed into a grotesque vision of horror. She resisted the temptation to turn back, knowing the truth was somewhere beyond the flickering light, somewhere she had to reach as Tara approached. She could make out words spilling from the glowing entrance, an echo of laughter, one she recognized. "Tara, come home, we're waiting." The sweetness of her mother's voice turned bitter in her ears. A pit of anxiety twisted her stomach. Was it a trap? Looking over her shoulder, she could feel the shadows gathering behind her like a swarm of angry bees. The air crackled, thick with menace and mocking laughter. They were closing in fast. "Don't trust them," she reminded herself. With a fierce growl of defiance, Tara extended her hand toward the light, reaching out as if to grasp the hope it offered. In an instant, the shadows lunged, a cacophony of rage mingling with mockery. "You can't escape. You chose this path." But Tara pushed through, her heart racing with an urgency she hadn't known before. "I will break your hold," she declared, her voice a battle cry. Her fingers brushed against the cool surface of the portal's edge, and she felt a rush of energy, one that coursed through her veins, igniting her spirit. The shadows wailed, a horrified symphony of defeat that echoed in her ears as she dove through. Suddenly, Tara found herself outside, breathing the crisp, night air illuminated by the pale moonlight. She collapsed on the grassy ground, gasping. Freedom! She pressed her face into the earth, overwhelmed by relief, joy, and pure disbelief. But then she heard the echoes of the mine whispering from afar, and as she lifted her head, the shadows lingered at the edges, waiting and watching. She remembered Michael's final words. "You must never let them take your soul." Rising to her feet, Tara took a deep breath. This was never about escape, she said out loud. This was a fight for hope. Around her, the shadows writhed, their whispers prickling against her skin. But she stood firm, her spirit bolstered by the strength of her love for her son. "You will not take my soul. You've lost your power here." And in that declaration, the shadows flickered, the darkness around her trembling, as if her words were a shard of sunlight slicing through their shadows. A resounding roar erupted from deep within the dark veil, an anguished cry of fury and loss. Before the shadows could retaliate, Tara dashed forward, her heart set on delivering a final blow. She picked up a jagged stone, sharp and heavy in her hand. "This is for all of you, for every lost soul and every broken scream," she cried, finally hurling the stone toward the heart of darkness. It hit the ground with a deafening thud, and the earth shook beneath her. The air shimmered, the darkness cracking like ice, splintering into flickers of ghostly light. Tara felt a rush of warmth against her skin as the shadows started to dissolve, their cries turning from accusatory to sobbing despair. The chains that bound the souls in that cursed place shattered into glimmering fragments that danced in the moonlight as the shadows dissipated. She finally felt a long-awaited sense of peace settle around her. The portal behind her glowed one last time, revealing the anguished faces of miners who had been trapped, lifting into the air as the shackles of despair crumbled away. Tara stood resolute, tears streaming down her cheeks, not just for the souls lost but also for the lives reclaimed, their suffering melding into a silent promise of freedom. At that moment, a gentle breeze kissed her face, and she heard a soft voice, "Thank you." It was Michael, and there, between realms, she could feel him, a comforting warmth enveloping her heart, guiding her home. Tara turned to leave, the mine now an echo in the distance. As she walked toward the light, the veil between the worlds blurred, allowing her to carry forth all the lost souls she had saved. Hope had triumphed, and the shadows were merely memories of a darker past. The world awaited, and she had a son waiting for her to return. But as she crossed over, she knew this was just the beginning. There would always be ghosts to confront, always stories of darkness to uncover. To reclaim life, she had to keep the light shining bright. This was a night she would never forget, and the shadows could never take her again. Subscribe immediately to the channel, so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that could just save you. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to support the channel, it matters more than you know. Don't wait even one more second to share.